make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days ago.
Dog been digging in there?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Oh! Ah, yeah, there's something in there. Ah!
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Oh man, this is incredible.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it.
Careful!
Oh God, no. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. I can't hold it. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is... Oh! What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. Your daddy ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't put it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there. No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you covered. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach, hug him up.
He's breathing. On the other side.
Go.
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Hey, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky. Hey, get the stick.
Yeah.
Hey, did you get the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. This is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
Oh, so worth it.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days ago.
Dog been digging in there?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
Hell with that.
Ah, yeah, there's something in there. Ah!
Well,
Thank you.
it was worth it.
Oh, man, this is incredible.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey, man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it.
Careful!
Oh, God. No. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is... Oh! What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't watch it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
Let go.
What do you mean you won't let go? He's dead.
Help me.
I'm not gonna...
Get in there. No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you covered. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him. Hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
On the other side.
Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Hey, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky. Hey, get the stick.
Yeah.
Hey, do you the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, that's your get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. Dude, this is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's so worth it.
this up here. Just showed up in the yard a couple days ago.
Dog been digging in here?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
Hell with that.
Ah, yeah, there's something in there. Ah!
Come on.
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Oh, man, this is incredible.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey, man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh, God. No. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is... Oh! What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't put it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
It won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there. No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you covered. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
He's breathing. On the other side.
Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Hey, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky. Hey, get the stick.
Yeah.
Hey, did you get the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Hey, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. This is a spicy workout. Make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's so worth it.
what do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Is a
ago.
dog been digging in there?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Ah, yeah, there's something in there. Ah!
Come on, Lynn.
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Oh, man, this is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey, man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh, God. No. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is... Oh! What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. His daddy ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't look. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there. No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
On the other side.
Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Yeah, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky. Hey, get the stick. Hey, do you the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what. You finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. Dude, this is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's so worth it.
this up here. Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Is a
ago.
dog been digging in here?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
Hell with that.
Ah, yeah, there's something in there. Ah!
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the desk here for the NECC as we are headed into another lovely week of the Div 2 side of things. I am excited to be here. My name is Orbital. With me is the best panda to ever wander out of the zoo. It is Panda Chan over there. Panda, how you doing?
Well, Orbital, it's not.
Oh, wow. Oh, geez.
Going to be
Okay.
covering the games today. But it is about the Panda game today, Orbital. Welcome to the NECC Div 2 Group B, where we have ourselves an inter-city rivalry. Heck, it even has a name, and hence the Panda, because it is the Panda game between Carleton University and University of Ottawa.
Yes, it is, and with those inter-city rivalries, I always expect a lot of fun, a lot of silliness, because again, these are teams that any time that you're within the same city, you play against each other pretty regularly, and that is something that both teams have actually talked about. They have played against each other. Both these programs have had a storied past. I mean, uOttawa Garnet, you and I have cast them multiple times in the past, but maybe not with these specific rosters at hand for one reason as well as a few more.
Yeah, both these teams tonight have slightly different rosters than usual. We'll start a bit with Carleton, why don't we? Because Carleton Ravens, their roster is actually pretty standard, normally speaking. It's normally, Nick in the top lane, or Honor in the jungle. Normally it's Eltil in the mid lane, though you'll note it's Ken tonight. Neverstory as the AD carry, and then Ken's usually the support, but Obitos is filling in because their normal mid laner Eltil unfortunately had surgery this morning, so he's not able to play. Well wishes to him. Hope that he recovers well and quickly. And I believe he'll actually be watching his team play without him supporting them from the bench.
That is a real trooper right there. Once again, as he said, RMC, very much heartfelt hope out there, and hopefully the surgery does go well. On the other side, uOttawa Garnet, though, they are running MXT on the top side. Durag, Gumby, Power, Flower, and all some of these names that you have seen in the Garnet squad ratings. But MXT, of course, stepping in kind of at the last moment here in the top side. We'll be interested to see how well they can perform here on the day.
Yeah, and I managed to speak to Durag a little bit before the game started. And Durag was saying that for their roster this split, they've had to kind of swap in and out their top laners and mid laners, their solo laners, depending on who's available, just because of availability. So this starting five we're seeing tonight with MXT in the top lane, with Gumby in the mid lane, this is their best five, they think, which is going to be important because Carleton is actually coming down from Div 1 last split, and they have the same roster normally. Again, tonight has some couple of changes, but Carleton hasn't experienced in Div 1, whereas uOttawa, they're coming in from Div 2. They were a top 4 team in Div 2, probably still are right now in their division, but they're kind of punching up a little bit, so having their best five to be able to start tonight is big for them.
And it's going to be very important that they do step off on the right foot. I mean, you talk about Carleton Ravens. We even talked to the coaches, and they said, hey, look, being undefeated is kind of expected here in the Div 2. Now, granted, of course, anytime you have a sub, it's the possibility of things shaking up, but give credit where credit is due. If you have high expectations of your team, not just a starting five, but also of those that are coming in as subs, it shows a lot of resilience in the program itself, I think, and that to me is very exciting, and I'll be excited to see how far they go. But main thing I'll be looking at is in that mid lane. I think for me it's always about mid lane, and whenever you take out someone as important as maybe a star playmaker or anything, Ken, for me, I'm going to be sitting in there, especially because they came from the support, as you may have seen in the Ravens. I mean, walking in that support role, Ken now swapping towards mid, and Bobitos joining in at that support role. Big shakeups there.
Yeah, and if you look over to uOttawa's mid laner, it's kind of interesting too, because there's a lot of focus right now. We're talking about Altil, he's a big carry for the team, but Gumby is a player that we've seen a lot overall. I remember casting Gumby in multiple roles since the last 3-4 years. I think the last time we cast him, he was playing top lane for them, solo VP jungle. Now for uOttawa Garnet, this split, he's playing mid lane with unorthodox picks like Howland, which still a mid laner, but not one we see very often, or even Pike Mid, a champion that Going being made it popular in mid lane, but it has fallen kind of out of favor, stuck in a little bit of meta, but we're still not seeing too much, especially in solo queue. So a lot of interesting picks that could come out from both of these mid laners, one who's role swapping for tonight, and the other who's role swapped for, I feel like, most of his collegiate career.
The ever-flexing player is what we like to call them. I mean, true to the name, Gumby Power. You got to be a little bit flexible in there if you got a name like that. But it makes me kind of excited because we also get to take a look at that bottom lane. I know you're mentioning uOttawa Garnet having that strength and backing in there, but Flower and Awe, two players that have stepped up in the past for Garnet. I think I watched, I was taking a look at some of their previous match histories, and I mean, obviously they have played together before, but for Bobitos and Neverstory having to play not only without their usual support, but with that sub in there as well. I'm very curious how they're going to play things out as we are headed into that draft. First, uOttawa Garnet over there on the blue side.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting. I think of Flower as a more aggressive lane player. He likes to play champions like Samira, like Draven, like Lucian, but has been picking up quite a bit of Corki and Misfortune. Now, Misfortune can be quite lane dominant as well, but in the later team fights, she needs her team to set up for her. So how that bot lane goes in terms of that will be interesting in terms of what Flower and Awe want to do. Versus Neverstory and Bobitos, right? That's a bot lane that hasn't played together too much, and now Bobitos is stepping in. Neverstory, he used to play, if I recall correctly, quite a bit of Draven, but hasn't been doing that recently. Now, if you're paired up with a support who you maybe are not as familiar with, you might want to just play something aggressive that can kind of take control on his own, and I feel like Draven would fit that idea, or you could go something meta, like Varus, if it doesn't get banned here.
Well, I mean, you even talk about the fact that Bobitos in their match history had a little bit of the Karma and the Braum. These are very stalwart, generic supports is what I like to say, but they can fulfill a nice kind of rotation. Karma there to buff up, Braum there to support, so and block up damage if you wish, but there is going to be the Skarner and the Talon both banned away, both of these kind of leaning into what you were talking about, RMC, saying, hey, listen, there's a Talon player, there's Skarner in there as well, got to get the mix-ups out, but it's Yordle banned city out here as uOttawa Garnet are like, yeah, no Ziggs, no Lulu, and now comes the Karma ban.
And I like the Lulu Karma bans as well coming through from uOttawa. They're targeting both Ken and Bobitos at the same time. Since Ken has to flex into the mid lane, both of those supports they're banning could potentially go into the mid lane as well. The Silas ban coming through, a nod to Gumby, a champion he's well known for. But now, first pick to uOttawa Garnet. Where do they want to go with this, right? Like, there's so many options, and they do go for the Misfortune, that sort of aggressive lane pick for Flower. Keep in mind, Div 2 does use full Fearless, so once you've played the champion, it's out. uOttawa get one shot at this.
Yep, and the big thing is Misfortune has actually been rising in priority. A lot of people have been talking about the strength of the Misfortune and how well it can bring out the damage in those stages of the game, you know, early, mid, bringing up with the double up, but there's that Draven that you were talking about. RMC, you're like, yo, let's bring it out. Let's go ahead and go ham from the first game onwards, and there's the Braum as well to go ahead and get Bobitos a comfortable pick.
Yeah, and I really like this coming through already for the Ravens in the bot lane, especially, like we talked about, Draven's a champion who can kind of do it on his own, and he can pair with pretty much any support, as long as it provides some sort of CC. If you want an Enchanter, it works. If you want something that can engage, it works. If you go with a Braum as well, Braum is going to block a lot of what Misfortune is going to want to do. So I like that pickup, not just for the lane, but for the team fight later on as well.
And I haven't seen an Echo in ages, by the way. That is a wild one in my opinion, but that's another Gumby. Gumby has played it in solo queue a little bit. To mesh in with an actual composition, though, is going to be surprising, and that's why I like the Rakan to be backed up there. You have a dive buddy with that Echo. You both have a way to get back out as well, so if this is going to Gumby, I'll be very, very surprised. Granted, it could go in the jungle as well. I think we've seen Echo jungle before, but that might be a long shot as now we see the Cho'Gath locked in. Stalwart knockups and a silence.
Okay, and I want to go back to that Echo pick, because Orbital, you're saying he plays in solo queue, but Gumby plays jungle in solo queue, which is the interesting thing here, because now we don't really know where this Echo is going to go, and I like the mind games that come through. The Cho'Gath, as you mentioned, picked through for the Ravens for Nick, a very tanky champion in the top lane with a surprising amount of burst, and I'm liking it into both the Echo and the Misfortune. Echo especially has to be very, very careful about this, because yeah, you can chrono break, but the sheer burst that Feast can do sometimes bursts you right through, and you have to press R before you get feasted upon.
Got to be really, really careful about how you want to play around that one. Now, in the bans coming out straight towards that top lane, Aatrox, Darius, as well as Mbessa. These are all lane-dominant champions, I feel like. Well, mainly the Darius and the Mbessa. We know both these champions can roll over an opponent, but that last ban there is going to be the Wukong. uOttawa Garnet now flexing into that top jungle side of things.
Okay, that's interesting, because if they're banning Best in the top lane, so they're thinking the Cho'Gath might be a flex from Carleton as uOttawa. And one thing to keep in mind too, it is an inter-city rivalry. The teams have played against each other before, and they're friends with each other. So they might know things that we don't about their champion pools, about maybe things that came through in scrims. For now, the Volibear that we're seeing Carleton lock in doesn't tell us too much about whether it is going to be a flex. Volibear, pretty much a jungler usually, but can go into the top lane. His AP burst can do nasty things, even to a lot of tanks up there.
Well, either way, it's going to be a dive type of playstyle. So you go ahead and lock in the Mumu on the other side. uOttawa Garnet saying, okay, you have the Braum, you have the Cho'Gath, you have the Volibear. Draven is going to stay farther back away, but for right now, we're going to go ahead and lock in that Wombo, and then now to push into that early game, you have the Renekton sent up to MXT, saying, I'll take either the Cho'Gath or the Volibear. Either one is going to be interesting, and that is going to be a Zyra, meaning these could be a Cho'Gath mid setup.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, keep in mind, it's hard to scout Ken a little bit in terms of what he plays, because he's normally a support player. So Cho'Gath mid into the Echo. I like the idea. We already talked about how the Feast can, to a certain degree, make the Echo a lot harder to play. Echo, a melee champion as well, something that Cho'Gath is more than happy to play into, can out-sustain that pick. Volibear into Renekton is going to be an interesting one for me, because I do feel like uOttawa, with the MF and with the Renekton, have picked strong early game side lanes. But Volibear and Draven, or the side of Carleton, are also really strong early game picks, and I do think that if one side can win both the side lanes, they could potentially snowball the game from there. So a lot of my attention in the early game is going to be spent looking at, okay, which side lane is really pulling ahead.
And not just that, where the junglers decide to opt to, because you have to take a look at Durag and Honor, both of these players having champions that can do certain aspects. I mean, you look at Durag, the clear might not be the greatest off the rip, but you can bring a lot of advantages. The bandage toss to go ahead and get your side lanes working. But Honor looking to hard clear as quick as possible, hit that level 6, hit those breakpoints, and even come in with a couple of the straggling thorns. Both junglers have options here, and that to me is going to be very, very interesting. I mean, even in the mid lane, you take a look at that lane matchup in the solo lane style, that might be very volatile just as well. So let's go ahead, head on to the Rift as quick as possible. It is going to be that Cho'Gath in the mid with Nick heading towards that Volibear top. It is going to be a barrier on that Draven, and might not have a barrier or any safety at all. First blood handed over to Honor.
Wow, beautiful from the Ravens. They snuck into the bush so quickly. uOttawa, they were set up defensively, but they didn't catch any of the sneak in from the Ravens there. And unfortunately for them, losing giving that first blood over to Honor just makes that Zyra clear that much scarier, that much faster. Boots already picked up. Not just to clear faster orbital, but also to get to lanes to gank. Zyra can be very potent, especially if her lanes have that setup. And I look at a Volibear, I look at a Cho'Gath, I look at even a Braum, and she doesn't have to do the hard work. She can be the follow-up CC. She can beat the damage.
Not just that, I mean, there's going to be multiple people coming into you as well. Renekton, Mumu, Echo, Rakan, like, who's not going to be diving in on these planes? Who's not? I mean, both these teams are going to collide like they are on opposite sides of a rock slide. Like, these are going to be very, very painful collisions if the teams are not ready for it. I am very, very excited. But we are getting a little bit of a test as Durag is actually opting to try and get a little bit of an invade. This is actually quite awkward. I've never really seen an Amuba decide to try and invade and get annoyed, and you were doing it so close to your lane opponent, but you knew that the Zyra wants to cheat up top, so you have gotten away with the Raptors steal completely in the dark.
What a cheeky steal coming through from Durag, bro. And the reason why you don't usually see an Amumu invade is because his level 1's not that good. You do need your lanes to back you up, and with an Echo who's not known for his level 1, that was straight up Durag playing a mind game and saying, I know Honor's not going to think I'm going to do this. Nobody ever expects the Amumu invade.
And not just that, I wonder if you are understanding that, hey, like, that is going to be... I just saw the ping go down by Honor, by the way. Honor's, like, so pissed off. Bro, I was like, what the hell just happened? Did I really get invaded by an Amumu? If I don't see Honor now rotate over towards that red buff, I'm going to be wholly surprised.
Yeah, and you can see the pings coming down as well from uOttawa on their red buff. They know that's going to be the dicey situation. That's going to be the questionable defense. And the problem is, Honor with the boots and with how fast he can play on the Zyra will be able to invade. So it's a question of whether the lanes can back them up. And we're seeing Bobitos and Never Story down here already pushing in, getting that pressure. If it comes to a 3v3 with the bot lanes involved, I kind of fancy the odds for Carleton, and I think they do too, which is why we're seeing them progressively get those wards down, and you can see Honor already cheating away from that blue buff a little bit, trying to rush over as fast as he can.
And I think that might be a big part about it. I wonder how quickly it's going to go through. Namely, because we did see a ward get dropped by Bobitos. They have the information saying, okay, maybe we can rotate over off this next wave. Mid lane, obviously, Ken won't be able to join because Gumby has a pretty decent HP lead over, especially with Ken also burning double pots, which is rough as well. So this mid lane Cho'Gath, we'll still have a couple questions for, and seeing if they're able to weather the storm. But you were just talking about the fact that where's the support coming? I'm almost seeing a bot lane for Carleton and then a mid lane help out a little bit on the side of Garnet. And honestly, I'm still, not exactly favoring the Amumu in there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it will depend on how Gumby's able to help out on that Echo. Early levels, Echo can have a surprising amount of bursts, but like especially he wants at least level 3, and he will have that on this invade to kind of contest. I'm actually curious if Ken rotates out with the Cho'Gath. He's been playing the Cho'Gath fairly safe. Like he's not really trying to pressure out. He's more than happy to sit back and let the wave play into him. Cho'Gath has a lot of wave clear if he needs to, so it's not like he can't leave the lane whatsoever. It's really a question if he wants to, and you can always kind of set up a trap too, right? For Durag there, if you're kind of falling behind in the Amumu and you're not confident in being able to win the bigger fight, the 3v3, the 4v4, you can just collapse back and try and punish whoever's roaming out, right? If Honor's invading you with Never Started Bobitos, well, collapse on Ken. Move on that Cho'Gath coming onto you, and you can go to 2v1 situation. You certainly have enough damage to burst him out early. Cho'Gath needs a couple of feast stacks to get into that tanky beast that we tend to think of him as.
He also needs to stop losing HP. I mean, you're sitting down at about 200, 300 HP. It's not fun to sit down there at that point, also without pots. So that's another reason why I'm kind of sitting there and just like, okay, let's wait on Ken for a little bit. But that leaves us with top lane, as we did see Nick and MXT kind of going at it like cats and dogs up there, or like a wolf and croc would, which I don't think in any biome you would sit there and say that's normal. But quite honestly, I'm wondering who is going to come out at the major advantage, because in a 1v1, that's like the only lane that is really going to be set in stone right up there.
Wolf and Croc, bro. Volibear is a bear. It's kind of in his name. Now, it wasn't a panda. He's a polar bear. I guess the closest analog would technically be a polar bear. He's an Ursa. But yeah, I honestly, we haven't looked up there because it doesn't look like they're trading particularly heavily. They are both kind of bruisery champions. And I suspect the top lane, we're not going to see too much action until they get down to about half health. Then the burst might come through. The other thing to track for the top lane is actually where the junglers are. And because of how it got started, because of Durag sneaking away those Raptors, it's pushed Honor to kind of have to pot down a little bit faster. And well, they were probably already planning to do that. But now knowing that both of them are probably going to be focusing on the bot side, if there is any aggression top side, it would be Durag trying to cheat up and forsaking his bot quadrant, potentially kind of getting 3 buff. But if you can get the kill, I think it might be worth it. Last we saw, it did look like Durag was going to contest bot, so top lane is probably going to be an island for a while yet.
Yeah, I think that would be the really funny thing, is just to see, hey, listen, I did my job, I pissed you off, and now I run away and just hope I never meet you until level 6. And then on the other side, like, Honor's like, I have to defend my honor. You stole my Raptors as an Amumu. That is completely illegal. We can't let you do that. I would... Again, we can't see what their banter is, but I hope to all that is holy that there are some words being tossed around. You got to get the mental gameplay going in there, because to me, mental is a very large part of it. But I do love the fact that we already get shenanigans out of game 1, which I think is very necessary, especially in Fearless. You got to take your wins where you get them.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we did have a bit of a spectator issue, so our production's like trying to see if they can hopefully get us back into game, because this game, there's more to it than just the simple, normal NECC games that sometimes we get where teams are kind of going at it. Both these teams are really doing well. We talked about the intercity rivalry, but we should also talk a little bit about the standings right now. Carleton and Raven are top of the table. They did kind of demote a little bit from Div 1, but their skill is certainly still there, and they feel like they belong in Div 1. For them, as you mentioned, they feel like losing a series would be a blot on their record. They're expecting to dominate this entire thing, and they've started well. They're 4 wins, 0 losses. uOttawa Garnet, on the other hand, they're currently sat at 2-1. The website hasn't updated their match from last week, unfortunately, so I don't know what the result from the UF Club Blue match was. But their one loss before that was against Queen's U Red. The interesting thing, Orbital, is that they didn't lose on the Rift. It was a forfeit loss, I'm assuming due to scheduling issues. So technically, they haven't lost a series on the Rift either. If you want to look at it from that way, both these teams are undefeated, if you will, on the Rift.
Yeah, that's the best part about it, and honestly, that makes it all the more fun. Honestly, I am very excited to see what they can do, but granted, we do need to go ahead and make sure we can iron out all these kind of small little things, technical difficulties for the current moment. We appreciate your patience here. And in the inter-rivalry, inter-city rivalry, we'll give it all the benefit of the doubt. Please don't go anywhere. We hopefully will be right back with a continuation of Game 1, or at least some news for you. We'll be right back.
Honor though? Okay, so first of all, apologies for the delay. We hit a spec bug, which caused us to take a while to resolve. We came back in, and last we were talking about Honor invading Durag. We were talking about the lanes roaming top the junglers. None of that happened. It's just the lanes making action happen. The solo kill from Gumby, and now Neverstory and Bobito is actually getting pushed back after having control of the lane for most of the early game.
Yeah, listen, it was so shocking that it blew my mic out. That's how bad it was. I was just like, oh my god, a solo kill. But right now, we're looking even into the bottom lane now as Flower is getting chunked out. Great double knockup by Aw here to make sure that gank didn't have any further action. But the early aggression that we were looking at, as you mentioned, really didn't come to pass as Honor just ran straight after taking care of their first clear, went towards that mid and straight towards bot.
And this does change sort of the climate of things, because it does mean now that Durag successfully stole away Raptors without being punished. Honor couldn't look for the invade because he had to go cover mid a little bit, and mid lane hasn't changed. Gumby is still beating up on Ken. This Cho'Gath that was supposed to be a bit of a counter pick, have that sustain built into his kit, have that burst to deal with Echo, suddenly isn't faring as well, and instead Ken's the one getting bursted down.
And now we get to take another look, but as soon as I say that, we see another gank here. Or not gank, but just raw power into the bottom lane. Yeah. Thank goodness there was a barrier and exhaust there. Or Neverstory with the empowered autos was going to take Flower's life.
And now Neverstory did burn all his mana to make that happen. Sure, Flower and all are out as well, but one thing to note about Draven is if those axes aren't spinning, he's actually not that scary. So if you can cause him to drop the axes, get some CC in there, very, very punishable. And you can see his health bar isn't that healthy either. If Misfortune can get him to drop the axes, she could win this fight.
She could. And granted, that's where Bobitos comes into play. But of course, Durag now with their first gank here in this game. Ooh. Flash for flash. Nick saying no. Goes ahead and has to go ahead and sit back a little bit further as their ward will also be cleared out.
Yeah, teleports were used by both top laners. Nick actually being very bold to just walk back out there is now walking back into his turret, not knowing where Durag is. And now Honor trying to make action happen as well.
Yeah, there's the other exhaust that we were mentioning. Flower really doesn't have much, but that's a great step forward. And you try and turn the tables. Honestly, right idea, but unfortunately the execution couldn't be anything there. That is Neverstory to grab not one, but 2 kills.
I don't know, we were talking about getting Draven to drop the axes. Neverstory didn't fumble the axe. The CC didn't come through in time. And you saw the raw amount of damage that came through. Zyra able to pick up 2 more assists to boot. This time getting both kills to Neverstory. Huge for the Ravens. They're going to give up grubs to make this happen. But frankly, with the Draven on your team, with how volatile these early game side lanes can be, I'd much rather take those early kills.
100%. You already got the feet in there as well, so that means if one of your lanes gets ahead as even further, all of a sudden you've also taken control of a very large component of the game now. Those feats, being able to wipe one off the table means that for you, uOttawa Garnet, who are on that blue side, they're sitting there like, okay, we got to make up a little bit of lost ground. We got to make sure that we're going to be stepping back into this one nicely, try and draw this game out because, or maybe not draw the game out considering we have a Cho'Gath that is infinite scaling on the other side. And even Gumby's like, please don't kill me for this one. Please don't kill me for this one. But we'll be curious to see where the game does direct.
And in this top side, Nick and NECC, we're kind of seeing them going at it. Nick shoving this wave in, but I want to highlight sort of the CS differential between them. Because Nick did get zoned off a little bit by Durag, he is falling behind, and NECC more than happy to kind of trade out. Is actually fine with letting this wave push into him. There's no objective he needs to fight for, and that stun!
That is dicey. It's still a kill for kill. No feast tech to go over, but that was... I feel Durag wasn't exactly excited about that bandage toss.
Yeah, it landed. Or he landed a skill shot, and I'm not sure he wanted to.
Yeah.
A bit of a rough situation for him, but that's okay. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Gumby's going to get to push in, and Honor's not really saving that turret whatsoever, so that's still going to be chip damage going in. More plates being taken away. The kill as well for Gumby's going to accelerate him. He's actually a big threat. He was supposed to be neutralized by the Cho'Gath, but if he's able to win his lane, he's also going to be a huge threat against Neverstory and Honor later on as well. Rom doesn't have a lot of good answers into the mobility that Echo brings to the table.
No, you're just kind of there. Now on the top side though, NECC getting a large chunk out. That's ultimate for ultimate, but the healing coming out of Nick right there. and you're trying to step forward, and honestly, you kind of lost out on your chances. MXT is clearing the way, making room for Durag. As remember, there is no flash. Again, you got a little extra shield, but Durag is here. Very nice bandage toss into the CC chain with the Rage Extra. Means MXT comes away with the kill.
Ooh, clutch when it mattered. Durag not getting the first gank off, but the counter gank to save MXT in a risky situation. And props to Nick as well. Nick won the 1v1 that MXT actually started looking for.
Honor right back in that boss fight once again, but very nice bull time is going to do some work. However, the resounding answer is the Garden plus the Blades, and Honor sends Flowers straight to the grave.
Now Gumby might be in a bit of trouble, caught between multiple members.
And with no ult either. Well, actually there was, but you were silenced. It is gone and done. Ken feasts on their first prey so far this game and says, okay, let's get that stack rolling as Dragon started up by Honor.
Yeah, that's the burst we're talking about that can come through from the Cho'Gath. Now, interestingly, Orbital, as you noted, there wasn't a Chrono Break leveled initially in that fight. He was level 8. A lot of Echoes will hold that ultimate just so that it doesn't give that trail behind them. So it's a bit of a surprise factor. The more you level it up, the Echo, if you will, does show up and is available. So it's a bit of a tactic from very experienced Echo players, hence why that looked like it wasn't available on the
Alright, so what you're telling me is I was not wrong. My eyes did not deceive me. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. For once in my life, I'm right. Hey. It's still a dangerous position, though. We are seeing why we mentioned all the way back in the earlier draft why the Cho'Gath actually does work. The Cho'Gath actually does have a lot of value to it, but that silence, it does deny the Echo a chance to use that ultimate pretty much off rip that we do like to see them do. Ken, though, for their own, is going for a lot more of that tanky value, went for the Merc Treads very early on.
Yeah, and I don't hate it. I know that our producer Adam was telling us about how Drew Dozer in the OQ Tier 3 North American scene has been promoting Cho'Gath mid with Sun Biotic Souls, so a lot of sort of the ability to reset his lane and kind of cheat on a lot of the waves. But given that Gumby has become such a big threat, and not just to himself, but to the rest of the team as well, I don't hate the Merc Treads buy to just be able to hold Gumby a little bit better. If you're resetting very frequently, it gives Gumby the ability to roam out and impact your other lanes.
A lot of HP to work with, and that also means that we're seeing an attempt at an acceleration as well for uOttawa Garnet. You say, hey, we have some control over mid. Yeah, Gumby isn't going to be able to hard burst out the Cho'Gath, but you are doing pretty well. We talked about the CS lead. We're seeing a little bit of a lead, about 2 ways worth for Gumby in the mid lane, and now you got 6 scrubs to work with as well. If there is going to be a team fight for uOttawa Garnet, all of a sudden you can power down a couple towers, and you can really look to gather a lot of gold into your pocket.
And with the lead that MXT has gathered in the top lane, he's been playing rather defensively. I'm curious to see if he starts to push out with those 6 scrubs and starts taking turrets. Man, all on Flower right now hate that Honor's perma-capping this. The ward does spot Honor getting over the wall, though, and they're blowing a very early teleport from MXT to cover this bot lane. That bot lane feels like the one sort of pain spot for uOttawa right now.
And that's why I was also really surprised. The fact that we did see a very early TP as well just goes to show how respectful the counter are. But Durag now jumping in on Ken, gets a good sad mummy, but doesn't catch Honor. Instead, they're just trying to turn on Ken, but a good flash out means Durag is going to fall, but Gumby is able to fire right back with kill of their own. Flashes away, throws a Q behind to get the slow, and it's Gumby power all day long to take that 1-for-1 into their own pocket.
I feel like we've seen something like this before, bro, where Durag lands a stun I'm not sure he really wants to land, and ends up being yet another 1-for-1 trade. If we take quick stock where these kills are going, for uOttawa, it's going to Gumby. He's going to be very happy with those trades. For the side of Carleton Ravens, it's going over to Honor. So Honor needs to be big in these team fights, and technically Zyra can be big for the team fights. Honor has been getting around the map, but we need to actually see like a 5v5, a 4v4 to really see it shine.
I think that's what, you know, for the Ravens, that's what you're going to be aiming for. You are going to be looking for those big team fights. That's why you're also trying to pressure down, maybe get that Braum and the Draven a little bit more open in there. Try and force those early team fights to come about if you get that first tower very quickly. Needless to say, though, you only had 2 plates down on the bottom side. The rest of the towers are all fairly lean, or fairly bulky still. On the side for uOttawa Garnet, I think they've taken 2 in the mid lane, so not much spoken for there either.
Yeah, it feels really like a race between the bot and mid lane right now for uOttawa. How quickly can Gumby really unlock himself? And for Carleton, can they get Neverstory and Bobitos further ahead? Gumby, that's basically the equivalent of a proxy in the mid lane. When you're under the enemy turret, zoning them out while kind of just getting free damage on the turret, clearing their wave. And Ken can't do anything on his own. That Shurelius he picked up, great utility buy. Keep in mind, Ken is a support player. It fits the mindset, but it's not doing him favors in the lane.
No, and especially with Gumby running that Storm Surge, it does a lot of work. However, on the bot side, we're seeing a little bit of a chance. Durag joining in, doesn't have the close to that mummy just yet, but is going to get the charm and then a double knockup. Yes, that Glacial Fissure does work. Her sad mummy, though, brings about damage, and that is the raw DPS in CC from uOttawa Garnet.
I love that every time we see Durag ganking overall, it's like, wait, something went wrong. He went on the turret, or this time he didn't have the Curse of the Sand Mummy quite available at the initiation of that fight. But great follow through from Awe and Flower makes it work anyways. And Orbital, that was a bit of my concern with Honor picking up a lot of these kills right now. Is the Zyra's skirmishing and how much she's moving on the map hasn't quite been as impactful as the Amumu. And I fear that, you know, until we get to those bigger fights, it's a bit harder for the Zyra. A lot of her skills are best as follow-up compared to the initiation that Amumu provides. Now, Honor doesn't have to necessarily fight, right? You can just go for the dragon here, and this is the sort of fight that a Zyra wants, when you're already set up in position and the enemy team has to walk into you.
It is absolutely a setup-based jungler here, but Durag has very much kicked the door in, given the opportunity. That is going to be a slow dragon down to about 1k, and maybe you can walk the seal button, though. You don't have flash, no bandage toss to get in range of the dragon just yet, so goes the way of the Ravens as both teams are sitting at two major camps.
A very, very close game so far. 2 objectives apiece. The kills are 6-7. The gold ever so slightly favoring uOttawa. It's anybody's game, and as the game goes on, I keep talking about these big team fights. The comms demand it as well. You've got an Amumu, you've got a Zyra, you've got a Braum, you've got a Rakan. They want to make this action happen, and I'm looking at the first turret because I think as long as they're locked into the lanes, we're only going to see these smaller skirmishes around objectives. But once the first turret goes down, that's when we're going to start seeing a lot more movement, a lot more grouping up of these things.
And I think if I'm going to be watching any of these teams, I am wanting to watch Durag. Durag so far has very much impressed me on the Amumu. I always walk into it with a little bit of I want to say a reality check. I mean, every time I see Amumus, you wish for them to be aggressive, but sometimes they just can't be. This time around, Durag has seen at least seemed fairly aggressive. 2, 2, and 3, maybe at the wrong times and all, but they've done well, and I'm excited to see what more they can do when we reach that mid-game. Never Story, of course, pushing down on this tower once again. Trying to get in the way of this tower going down. Again, it's a little bit harder, but that is going to be a step and a half. It looks like a little bit of a wayside, and that's going to be the quickness diving in, but you don't catch Never Story, who pops that barrier as well. Honor getting a huge speed buff thanks to the plants and the feathers. That's another knockup as All gets way too far in. Never Story able to shut them down, but meanwhile in the mid, Durag was able to answer back with one of their own, and now it's a race for first tower, and it's granted to the ones that have 6 scrubs.
Yeah, and huge prop.
MXC? Okay, not too bad. That's a flash. I expected that out as both burn, and that's going to be a dive underneath the tower. And Nick, what a burst in turn, grasping the Undying to heal up.
Okay, big wins for uOttawa across the map. The fact that they managed to stall out Never Story and Bobitos in the bot lane long enough, and frankly, without Honor, would have won the 2v2. If we take that into mind, that plus Gumby pushing the mid lane, getting 2 turrets. 2! Oh, bro, that's a huge influx of gold. Yes, Nick does incredibly well on the top side from a CS deficit to win the 1v1 under turret, but it's not quite making up the difference. And with the Herald being taken by Durag right now, Nick has to stop this.
They're going to try their best. Right now, Durag trying to run away. 11 on the levels. And Awe trying to step away. Is the reset going to come through, though? If Honor is able to tag this one, you might be able to burn it away, but it's a smite down. Durag is able to smite it, but are you going to be able to get the Herald itself? Right now, this is a dive. In goes the Garden as MXC has to run away. Awe once again falls for their own. A nice rupture brings MXT to close. That will be a nice divergence as a smite goes uOttawa Garnet's way, but the fight went the Ravens.
And the eye of the Herald has not been picked up. So Raven's going to be very, very happy. Nick actually able to stop it. Yes, the smite goes down. That's fine. It's the Eye of the Herald you wanted to avoid. Eye of the Herald plus 6 grubs. Grubageddon is really hard to deal with. And with your mid lane so incredibly exposed right now, with 2 turrets already going down, uOttawa could have potentially looked to even break a base turret if they so wish. So huge pickup from them. Gumby under turret.
Here's the deal, you can also rush on out. Bobitos and Honor were there to try and fight it out, but again, Gumby is probably the most fed. 2 items deep with the
Rest, be careful.
You're allowed to do this type of burst. You do have the ult to go ahead and get back out, but that's Glacial Fissure, and now Gumby actually might be in trouble. You tried to get over the wall, and you tried to burn that flash, but you're not going to have it.
Oh, he
now
made it.
Oz in to help out, though. What a save coming in there. The Whirling Death just barely out of range of Gumby. So Gumby gets to run. They even call in the TP, but it's too little too late. Never Story, though, around the corner, ready to try and get an axe down, but there's a slow and a half. Exhaust comes in, plus the charm. Never Story doesn't get to write a story right now as the bullet time brings them to a close. Flower trying to chase away. Gumby throws out yet another Q trying to keep them safe, but the shutdown goes Honor's way. So death and glory blossoming here in the top side for both teams.
Although both teams told me that when they play each other, things sometimes get kind of weird. Anything can happen in this kind of game. And we just witnessed absolute madness. Gumby breaking ankles left and right, really playing very aggressively, very risky. But Carleton Ravens were up to the task, were able to punish them for that over-aggression. Now, they do lose out in terms of goal because MXT is picking up this bot side turret, but I liked what the Ravens did on that top side. They do get a lot more pressure and control on that side of the map, and frankly, until I see MXT join the fight, this gold to me doesn't feel like real gold. It just feels like the idea of a gold. MXT is not exactly winning the 1v1 against Nick, despite that golden CS.
I think the only thing that you're going to be real happy about is the fact that you were also able to claim those feats behind. As you mentioned, the gold doesn't really shift anything. What might shift it is the extra boots in there because of that smite that came down from Durag. You're able to secure all 3 of the neutral camps that you needed over your opponent. So for you, uOttawa Garnet, you're able to have that one in hand, but now it's another scary factor because, hey, you're giving up a lot of dragon space. Keep in mind, Gumby doesn't have TP. So the Ravens, unless there is going to be a steal, but Durag is nowhere near, means this is an infernal soul point for the Ravens at just 20 minutes.
Yeah, uOttawa burning the bullet time on the top side earlier means they can't really contest this, nor do they want to. Nick chasing after Gumby right now. Has to be a little bit careful here.
What? Okay, that makes more sense. The entirety of the team was there, but that was a pretty quick call on the fight back. Nick now getting chunked out here. Tower might fall down as that is the Skybringer being brought in, but the HP might not be there. Whirling Death not going to do enough as MXT dives straight into the back line, but you went a little bit too far, so you get chunked out. Bullet time landing on quite a few members, but another rupture denies any further harm as Ken is body blocking for the rest of the team. It's a 1-for-2 value as Never Story is going to try and chase forward. Remember, no exhaust now on Oz, so you're really only looking for the rain of bullets, but it will be a 1-for-2 total instead of 1-for-2 continue.
1-for-2, but with a turret thrown into the mix overall, and that's what's making this seem so close. It still is ever so slightly in the favor of uOttawa on this topside play. They did sacrifice a dragon for it though, and that one's a little bit risky because the Ravens have been picking up all the dragons up to this point. We're looking at an infernal soul in about 4 minutes right now. So Carleton Ravens, they've been giving up a lot of gold in order to secure these objectives. It's about time for them to start turning things up. We've seen uOttawa play aggressively. Now I want to start seeing the engage come through from Carleton as well.
I hope they're going to give it their best shot. I think they will. I mean, we're taking a look at Ken, who has been stacking up level 13, 4, 4, and 5, went for a hefty tank build here, Force of Nature to get in a little bit closer. And I cannot believe my eyes. That is 8 different sets of Merc Treads between all 10 players. That is a wild number of Merc Treads to be had in a single game.
And for Carleton, dude, all of them have Merc Treads, right? 5 of those 8 are from their side. It's because they think that Gumby is the single biggest threat, along with Durag's Initiate. And frankly, I'm not confident about that. I think Flower's been racking up a lot of gold quietly. He has a full lethality build as well.
I mean, at the same time, maybe it's just straight up for CC. I don't know. Honestly, it's just crazy to watch for. I haven't seen that in quite some time. Nick, of course, diving underneath that tower at the top side, looking to get some more, but meanwhile, fight in the mid lane is where we want to watch. We go right back towards the top side. MXT trying to clear out this wave, and Nick is very, very healthy right now, but the wave was cleared. MXT, though, flashing back underneath the tower, but needless to say, it doesn't do enough, and Nick will survive.
It's a 1-for-1 trade. Didn't quite get to see what happened to Bobitos, whether he got caught out or whether he threw his life to save somebody else who was a 1-for-1 trade. I'd almost say this favors Carleton a little bit more, but Nick wasn't actually able to follow up under turret. And for uOttawa, Dragon's not up either. So it just feels a bit of a 1-for-1 equal trade, resets coming through from both these teams, and it's still coming to the team fight. 2 minutes orbital before Infernal Soul spawns.
I will say I do like the fact, though, that we are almost limit testing a lot of this. We mentioned before that the teams love playing against each other. When they do, these teams love to scrap. I mean, in the inner city battle, I would expect these two teams to always be looking to try and get a one-up on their opponent. And the fact that Nick is willing to try and trade that out, especially when a move on the other side of the map is occurring, I think shows a lot of gumption and still having a little bit of a fun side to it as well. Now, granted, we do hope the macro comes into play as well, as Nick probably will start grouping up with the rest of the team, or just continue to split push as you have built up that econ, but never story. Going ahead and pressing down in this mid lane tower, opening up more space for the Ravens start planting more wards.
And that's some of the macro that we're hoping to see a little bit more of. Carleton pressing the advantage they had despite having lost Bobitos. They're the ones in the enemy jungle getting vision down, threatening a side flank and allowing Neverstory to get that solo time on turret. Even on the disengage, you can see they've cleared out most of the vision around that dragon pit as well. This has been the strong point. And with the Zyra, if they can get in there first and make sure they've got flanked wards so that they don't get collapsed on from behind, this should favor the advantage they have.
I mean, not just the advantage, the raw gold intake that Honor currently is sitting on 5, 0, and 7, plus a fully stacked Dark Seal. It's a lot of power. So the fact that you're calling out the stacking, it's not necessarily a you can do it. It feels like a must for the Ravens if you want to ensure that Gumby doesn't get a free execute on the back line, or that Durag doesn't get a free engagement off the side. I would say it's not just a nice thing to have. It is a very much a necessary factor, or else uOttawa Garnet might find the opportunity to catch Honor off guard.
Yeah, and you can already see they're trying to set up for it. Durag and all have been really good at pulling the trigger, setting up for Flower, and Bobitos has to be on point for that one. Okay, Honor, they're not quite fully set up, Carleton. They're not in the defensive position just yet. They are vying for that right now in this mid wave.
Yeah, considering, I mean, they want to try and give NECC a little bit more time to push up. You're seeing that wave state, and because TP is up, you're going to go ahead and recall here, which makes sense. However, Honor has already started up the Dragon. I don't know if this is what you actually want. Gumby going ahead testing the waters with a little bit of that time stop, but that's Durag starting off the fight over there in the mid lane, only a 2-man. But nice bandage onto the back line, forcing Neverstory away, but that is going to be a TP in as Ken is like, yo, what's up? Let's bring the damage. Triple knock him in the back lane, but it doesn't matter as Ken. It's just on their faces. Gumby with the assassination, though, knocks out Honor, as we talked about. And this Echo is running rampant. Needless to say, though, Flower and all somehow guiding Ken and Nick around, allows Gumby to sweep in for the triple, and all of a sudden it's the Ravens flying away.
5 Mercury treads orbital, and it did not matter to Gumby. Mercury's in retrograde right now, and they're happy to clean up. Carleton Ravens, they got baited. They got their battle lines completely disrupted. We talked about how this composition, with the Zyra, with Honor being so fed, wants to play from a defensive position, front to back. Make sure you don't get flanked. Instead, Honor gets caught alone on Dragon. Neverstory gets caught alone trying to play around the walls, and Gumby is just having a field day. Yeah, Gumby goes down, but his job's done. He set up enough for the rest of the team to be able to carry through that fight.
I mean, Gumby didn't even truly go down, and I feel like, whether intentionally or not, uOttawa Garnet did exactly what you said, you know, draw them out of the fortification, draw Honor away from those plans that they had set up. It's drawing that defensive player out of that defensive area, but might be that defensive terror as they're checking the wards, even gets a ward down, and Honor once again gets annihilated, chrono baked to death, but this might be Gumby sacrificing their life for it. That's going to be a triple charm into the bullet time, and it sets them up perfectly as the Ravens once again murdered like crows. Nick going to be the next one to fall unless you're able to stay alive. Durag with the bandage shots, this time all intentional. A final double up. Flower brings them down, and it will be the ace for the side of uOttawa Garnet.
And they're just gonna push right in. Forget the soul with these death timers. They can just get a turret, get an inhibitor, and reset potentially for another fight. I say that Durag's gonna do what junglers do, and he's gonna go for the objective while the rest of the team pushes. But Orbital, how the tables turn. Just 2 minutes ago, we were talking about Carleton Ravens in the enemy jungle, setting up, getting vision, and threatening catches. And the fight, one fight around Dragon, next thing we know, uOttawa fastened to reset. They're in Carleton's jungle. They're getting vision down. They're the ones setting an ambush. And for Carleton Ravens, because they're on the front foot, they didn't have that many defensive wards. And they were, I think, a little bit too comfortable thinking we're ahead. We're the ones stepping up. Didn't respect the fog of war.
And it's something that they will, I'm sure, respect a lot more coming forward. They lose out on a lot. Dragon is down, Baron is currently up and available, but you don't have that freedom. MXT pushing out that top wave, having to run away from Honor. He's able to collect a little bit more gold, but they're actually starting it here, which is going to be quite interesting. Gumby's all the way down on the bot side, though, so they might have a little bit more time. It's going to be rolling actually pretty quickly. Take a look at the damage output. You go ahead and burn. That ultimate Honor trying to get all the plant damage as quickly as possible. It's down to about 4k. Durag coming around the side, but I don't think they're going to be there in time. Great chomp and smite. Ken securing that objective, and that's Baron on 5 for the Ravens.
Pressure always being popped by Ken to make a faster getaway, and really good call from Carleton Ravens based around sort of the cooldowns that are available, right? The fact that ult time wasn't there for Flower meant that uOttawa probably didn't want to fight at the time. Gumby on the Echo with the Ignite, no teleport, caught on the wrong side of the map, knowing that, hey, there's no way he can rotate fast enough to be able to catch that. Really smart call. Problem is, Orbital, is it enough to make up the gold deficit? Baron isn't the best team fighting tool, it's more of a pushing tool. So the 5v5 is still going to be pretty even, and uOttawa, they're trading objectives now, right? They say, okay, you get Baron. Well, guess what? This season, it's 2025. Atacana exists, and I think Carleton Ravens kind of forgot about that. They went for Baron, they went for the reset. They didn't cover the objective on the other side of the map.
And this is one of the best as well. This is Ruinous, one that you and I have talked about extensively, you know, wanting to be seen. I mean, we don't always see it in pro play, but with the action that's occurred throughout the entirety of this game, all of a sudden, uOttawa Garnet get yet another buff to their damage. Ruinous provides a permanent buff in damage output here, much like an Infernal Soul. So really, really big pickup for the squad to continue to try and chew through the likes of Nick and Ken. And maybe even Bobitos.
Yeah, unfortunately, the other half of the Ruinous buff is a little bit wasted at this point because it is a very late Asakan. We're almost at 30 minutes. The other side was the XP buff, basically. When you take somebody down, it gives you a little bit more XP. That really snowballs games, but yeah, because it's so late, most people are already pretty close to their later levels. We're looking at level 15, 16 as an average right now. So Carleton Ravens giving that over, not the end of the world. Now they're set up with a death bush and ambush, although
you know what? You're okay with this. You are still alive and you're out and safe. That allows Gumby to come in. Bullet time does work. Bobitos getting shredded. TP straight to the backside as Ken and Honor realize that they are routed. Yes, the rupture slows you down, but MXT coming around the side. Another bandage shot slowing them down. Ken turns on Flower, but that leaves Honor completely alone, dishonored on that end. Ken gets the chomp down and the shutdown, and they're going to lily pad their way down to the bot lane tower, but it's still going to be a rough one, to say the least. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Gumby is trying to press this wave up into Nick's face, and Ken, the poor dinosaur, gonna be hunted like they're a Monster Hunter Wilds here. This is a big bounty on their head as all gets revenge. Gumby still going at it in a 1v1. Nick getting a lot of healing though, and I don't think Gumby really likes this one. Pops the ult to try and get back. Swings hard, but there's the Skybringer, and honestly, Nick just one more auto away is actually going to burn them down with just their breath.
And between the solo laners, Nick and Ken actually burnt enough time. Ken stopped them from pushing in. Flower is still dead, so he didn't have the AD carry pushing in, and Gumby losing the 1v1 against Nick is huge, because Gumby with the Lich Bane was probably going to be the primary turret pusher when Flower is down, but because you got soloed out, yeah, okay, you won the team fight. Now what? The gold has not grown that much. It's still a 3.5 thousand gold difference, which was pretty much what we were looking at before that Baron fight as well. So when all is said and done, Orbital, teams are still at the same state. It still could swing either way, 22-20.
And with that goal difference, I want to point out something that has surprised me a tiny bit. Honor, this entire time, we talked about the 5-0-7 stance that they had earlier. They have been denied 3 times. 3 deaths, 0 kills, only 2 assists. Not only that, they've had to double down on the defensive portions. They have the Seeker's Arm Guard broken in the back pocket, and then they have a small component of the Banshees as well. Double defensive never feels good when you were almost that carry for that period.
To be fair, you don't need a ton of damage against uOttawa's composition right now. It's really only Durag and all that, well, not even all, who's kind of getting tanky. All just barely survive. So I'm okay with dipping into those sort of defensive items, which still give you AP. I think the bigger problem is just that Honor's not been given the type of fights that he wants as Zyra. It's not choke points. You can't quite get the ultimate down. The fights are too mobile.
Yeah, and I mean, that fight is also starting without them setting up the plants, as that's going to be another fight. MXC going straight in there. Gumby trying to play on the back end, and now they get exhausted. Meanwhile, Ken trying to zone off MXT, and this fight is going 3 different ways sideways. What a triple stun by Gumby, and now you get to run right back in. What a huge chrono break! Straight onto their faces. Time waits for no one, and that's an ace for uOttawa Garnet yet again.
It's been so many years, Orbital, in so many roles, and Gumby can still provide so many kills. 7-3-11 in this game. He's been the guy we focus on. He's the one who got the solo kill for his team to kick things off for uOttawa, and he's the one who ends it with an epic ultimate into multiple members, and this time Flowers up, Gumby's up. Those turrets will not be up much longer.
All of the 13th Doctor, because that is a Time Lord right there. Gumby brings uOttawa Garnet to Game 1 victory. And yet, powerful fashion, the Ravens looked like they were having some sort of advances in there, but it just got overwhelming. And we mentioned the fact that Gumby, this high-rising mid laner that has transferred roles so many times, what can you do? You played Echo in the jungle, you played top lane, you bring that experience into the mid lane, and granted, yes, it was against Ken. Ken tried their hardest on this Cho'Gath, but Gumby took off.
Yeah, and for the Carleton Ravens, the fact that we were so close overall, it felt like it could really have swung either way. You can see that they're really hurting for not having their starting lineup. We have to remember as well, for Carleton Ravens, they have been playing as a 5-man unit for a while. Last split, they had some teething pains, but they really kind of powered through it. And this split was supposed to be the big split for them, and then also not available due to surgery. Really unfortunate for them. Now, going into game 2, though, because it's so close, it really could just pop back over. It just felt like they just needed that little bit more to kind of turn the game over, to pop right back in. And yeah, it could be anybody. It could be Ken popping off a little bit harder, Barbados maybe being able to find some sort of engage, Honor maybe being able to position a little bit better or get his outs off a little bit better. The Zyra pick doesn't really feel like an Honor pick to me. He's been playing a lot of things like, a Mumu, Diana, Wukong, like hard engaged champions, and I'd love to see him on those sort of champions in game 2.
I mean, you take a look at it and you talk about the fact that we are in Fearless, and hey, maybe that's where they wanted to go. Game 1, they wanted to try to go for this power pick of this Zyra, and hey, it didn't really work. Oh no. But what you can say is you had a fantastic early game. 5-0-7, any jungler, I would sit there and be like, I love that. So taking apart what you said and running that maybe in the jungle engage tool, that might be what they wished for. Now though, I want to mention another part that went a little bit sideways. Never Story didn't really have that Draven pop-off game that we were wanting, especially as an R1 pickup. And I want to know what some of the other options are, because obviously Miss Fortune and Draven are both on the table. You won't have the Braum for your safety either. Where does Never Story go if we want to see Never Story step up to that plate?
Well, let's see on something like a Varus, right? Varus got through pick bans completely untouched in game 1. He's just such a strong champion in general right now. Sure, he's not the most mobile, but if you're going to have like sort of double support setups, which you could run with both Ken and Barbados, I do feel like Varus would be a champion who could really take advantage of that. Now, because of the sort of spec delay we had in game 1, we're able to hop right into game 2. Looks like the teams are still on the same sides. And uOttawa, they're going with the same old band they had last game as well with the Lulu. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Ziggs and Karma as well. Don't fix what ain't broke.
Yeah, and for those that may not have tuned into the last about 5 minutes, those blank spots in the Fearless band side is going to be Miss Fortune, as well as I believe it was a, can I count? Cho'Gath! Ha! I know exactly what that was. Taking a look at the bands, those same bands coming out here, and this is what we talked about. In Fearless, normally we are going to see the same bands, at least in the B1 side draft, or the first ban phase, in my opinion. Lulu, Ziggs still banned away, Skarner, I think still understandably. You don't want to hand that one over.
Especially if they're on still the same sides of the map, unless some of those bans were specific to the matchup of the champion they wanted to play, which I don't think is the case, at least not for the side of uOttawa. For Carleton, I'm curious if they decide to change anything up, because they did lose game 1, but I feel like you need to ban the Talon and the Silas against Gumby specifically. You saw what he did on the Echo, and that's a jungle champion that he's playing. Okay, the Talon's also a bit of a jungle champion that he modified for the mid lane, but the Silas for him was always a lane champion.
And again, as we mentioned, there's the Karma ban out here, and this actually does leave a surprising factor. That's a Zed ban coming out here. So this is going basically down the list of what can Gumby bring out to destroy us. And I haven't seen a Zed in quite some time, I'm not going to lie. This is going to leave open the Wukong, which was banned out in game number 1. uOttawa Garnet picking that one up right away.
Okay, and we were just talking about sort of engaged champions for Honor, and immediately one of the ones we named, the Wukong, is taken right away by the side of Durag. I like the idea. Vera's still on the table, but we're seeing the Corki instead being favored by Neverstory.
And this is one of their most played as well from the ranks. Now, granted, inside of competitive play, it's a little bit different, but I do like the Corki. We know how well it does in that scaling factor. And there is that engage. The primal aspect of a Sejuani on your team feels great. It is a bully. It is a stalwart frontline with that passive behind. I think people disregard that passive. Being able to still throw out CC in there and just be an annoyance. Okay, uOttawa is just teasing me. So much CC in the first 3 pickups here.
Yeah, both teams want a team fight, and we love to see it. We saw how the game ended up going, bro. The early skirmishes and picks kind of didn't matter. It was a lot about the 5v5s around the later objectives that defined the game. So I like where both teams are thinking about the Kaisa to kind of go in as well, especially with the Corki on the side vulnerable to that dive. And one thing to note about Sejuani, especially into the Wukong matchup, is Sejuani is great. She's great at engage. But Wukong counters her with the clone quite heavily. So you can use the clone to actually soak up the Glacial Prison. So picking the Poppy for Carleton Ravens, that's a good idea. You know, that's sort of something that can stop the engage from coming through, can also follow up into the Sejuani as well, should the initial engage kind of be messed up.
And also punch out a Leona if you get pissed off and say, hey, get that blade away from us. Aatrox's still going to be banned away here in this draft as well. As we mentioned, the Ravens just really don't want to deal with that. And I think the top side, we don't give credit over to MXT and Nick as much. Those two went basically pound for pound in every single fight. Obviously, MXT got out on the worst trade towards the end, but at the early stages was able to draw a little bit of pressure up there, which is why we are seeing that focus. Yet again, mid lane most likely going to be left out for Ken and Gumby to do whatever they wish. But here comes the last one. Last time around, uOttawa Garnet banned away, I believe, the Wukong. That was the final ban to come out here. This one should be different, and I'm curious if they are going to throw it into that mid lane or if it's straight up to the top side. It is going to be a Galio, so a utility secondary engage banned away.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I'm also not as worried about the Galio being picked up for Carleton Ravens. Right now, they only have the Corki as damage, so they need other damage sources to come through. They go with the Orianna. That's an interesting one. That's actually an Alto special, something that he plays a lot with this team. So at least the whole team will know how to play with the Shockwave, with the sort of follow-up that Orianna can give you. The big question is whether Ken can play the Orianna, because you pick Orianna a lot for her lane pressure as well.
Yes, you really do. It gets to be a bully point, and that also makes me wonder for uOttawa Garnet, how are you going to punish them? Orianna is great all around, but there's some other options in there to work into the Orianna as well. But there's a Cassante in there. Okay, so this is another one that I think is a very great pickup here. Granted, you might not know if you're an old school Victor player like me, but that is Victor in there. We are going to run the Victor, one of the champions that has been an absolute threat and menace before. I love it so much. But the final pickup in the top side is going to be an Urgot. So Nick saying, let's throw down hands once again.
Look, I know that Victor had an eating disorder after they changed him. You know, his visual update was changed to do that. But I'm pretty sure that's not the splash, like the default splash for Victor. That almost looks like a cross between some sort of Varus or what. Yeah, okay, we have confirmation it's not. So it's just one of his skins there. And so I assume that Cassante should be top and the Victor should be mid. And that because
oh wait, do we actually have confirmation? Oh my gosh, we have actually gotten word that Gumby is playing Cassante. Also, it is confirmed also that RMC doesn't watch Arcane. What? So, you know, hey, everyone get mad at him. Not me. I knew it was Victor. I knew it was Victor pretty much right away.
That's not his.
No. He didn't recognize the skin. That's on him for this one. Listen, we got to talk about this. Gumby running the Cassante in the mid lane. If this is a true mid lane, though, that brings about a whole different question, because that is a Victor versus Urgot in the top side then.
Yeah, that is such a strange match. I'm actually wondering if Gumby and MXT are just going to swap lanes altogether.
Yeah.
Look, I'm fine with Cassante mid, actually. There was a period, I think, sometime last year in spring where Cassante mid was a bit of a thing. And basically, you just, kind of like the Cho'Gath we saw from Ken last game. Well, not maybe Ken Cho'Gath specifically, but Cho'Gath and mid lane in general, you out-sustain most of the mages. Cassante can soak a lot of damage, and you often run out of mana as a mage playing into Cassante in the mid lane before he runs out of health. and then he just abuses you with his ability to sustain through lane. So into the Orianna, I can see that working. Orianna is very squishy. If she gets caught, she's probably going to get busted by Cassante. My concern for that is more Victor in the top lane against Urgot. Because Victor, this much is lore accurate. He has a limp. And yeah, sure, after he became Victor and all the modifications, he's fine. But that takes a while to skill up, Orbital. We're looking at like Arcane pre-season 1 Victor right now in the laning phase against Urgot. And Urgot wasn't an Arcane, but if he was, you can bet he'd have run down Victor easily in the beginning of the show.
We're just picking on the guy that already has a pretty rough life. Like, you're calling out things that happen to him. Why are you doing this, RMC? Do you just hate Victors in general? Is that what's going on?
We might have picked on him, but MXT picked him. And again,
okay,
if you're putting him in the top lane, in the extended long lane, that's really, really risky. Urgot can punish you. Sejuani should be perma-camping that lane at that point. It's such an easy pickup for them kill-wise. And in the mid lane, for Ken, we talked about how Orianna will struggle to really bully out Cassante. But if you're just sitting back and farming, it's perfectly fine. Like, trying to dive the Orianna gets quite dicey, especially when she gets a couple of levels into her shield. You get Prio on a Cassante, but let's be realistic. How scary is a Cassante roaming necessarily? Like, if he gets fed, yes. But if he's not fed, he doesn't have that much. Well, he's got decent amounts of damage built in, but not the sort of damage that you expect from your mid laner to be able to burst down squishies right from the get-go.
All right. Well, that's 100% fair. We'll see if Gumby is able to pull out some silliness here. If we are going to get a roaming Cassante, we're going to get it, or if we're even going to see a role swap one way or another. Right now, my camera decided to die, and so did everything else. Now we're back because I'm a role. Okay. But we're going to go to a quick break because now I'm having technical difficulties. We will be right back. NECC will be ready for game 2, maybe a game 3 even later on down the road. we are here ready for game number 2. Thank you so much for waiting through some of the spectator bugs once again. We are set for what could be the closeout for uOttawa Garnet as they continue an undefeated series streak, or for the Ravens to kick back, try and go for game number 3 and look for their way to make it an undefeated series record. I mean, on the Rift, I should say.
Yeah, because right now Carleton has an undefeated record series-wise, but they did drop game 1. So if they lose tonight, their win streak gets broken. Now, Orbital, first thing to note, praise be, it is a Victor mid, and it is Gumby piloting the Victor. So it was some sort of spectator bug that made it look like Gumby was piloting the Cassante in the draft, but it has been confirmed it is MXT in the top lane. That makes a lot more sense, and it does kind of change the matchup of things. Top lane is going to be much more equal, I think. Personally, I favor the range that Urgot gives you in terms of getting early lane prio, but it kind of doesn't matter if Honor gets caught out and gets punished here.
Yeah. Punished by losing a quarter of their HP right before they try and clear, and honestly, that will be a punish. We talk about Sejuani's and their clear speeds as well. Sejuani is great in terms of the ganking potential, but in clear speed can do well, but is not great. Losing that quarter means that they will have to make sure to kite very appropriately for this matchup. Flower and Awe, of course, trying to posture to try and get Bobitos and Never Story into good position to kind of get poked out.
And we did get to see a bit more damage trading down onto Bobitos earlier. And I want to talk about Bobitos a little bit because he's the guy who's subbing in for this team. And for Carleton Ravens, we talked about how their starting five has been a starting five for a while. Are we actually going to see it first? But surely not. Yeah, chill, guys, chill. No. Let's talk about the bot lane, top lane. Last game, they were so chill in the early phase, and now they're all up in each other's grill. I'm actually scared over. I think there might be a kill coming up. Like, they are very low.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Nick is wanting to hit level 2 and get an early advantage, but MXT and both hit level 2 at the exact same time. So, yeah, no early aggression. Go back to what you're talking about bot lane.
Okay, yeah, Bobitos stepping in for this roster. And we saw last game with the Braum and Draven, at least in lane. It looked like he connected very well with Never Story. The sort of two-man connection was really solid. And now with the Poppy and Corky, we're seeing them shove in once again. The problem was later on in the team fights, the Braum couldn't quite seem to be on the same page as the entire team. And I need to see that from Bobitos. Yes, he's done a good job so far, but he's going to need to do great in order to tie this series up.
Well, here's the difference. They're doing a lot better at making sure Flower loses out on CS. I believe that was 4 in a row on the CS loss, which has led to Flower actually being in a very slight deficit. Granted, 4 CS in the long run isn't going to be too bad, but it still feels bad to have that happen, especially under tower. It's just like, dang, okay, that happened. We're going to have to fight back. All going ahead trying to help out and get just okay. We're making it worse right now.
It's facts.
I pointed it out for 4. I didn't mean for us to count.
Well, it is very rough for Flower, unfortunately, to be able to lose out on that much CS. And I like that Never Story and Bobitos, this is what happened last game too, right? With the perma shove they had going, they had an EXP lead. They're pushing in constantly. And against Durag's Wukong, unfortunately, Wukong is not one of the better early game gankers. If you set up enough for him, sure, he can make things happen, and there's always a Leona for that. But by himself, the threat isn't that high. And so Bobitos and Never Story can afford to push up. They had the ward down, they knew Durag was there, and they didn't even bother trying to fake being scared or passive or wasting time. They just went, okay, you're here. So what? We know you're not really going to try and get this gank on.
I think it's also something that good laners understand and prioritize to help out enemy junglers as well. If you give too much information, then the enemy jungler might kind of go out their pathing. I call that as a laner myself. I feel like it's a nice thing to do. If you can bait out more time of the enemy jungler, more time for you. Granted, Durag didn't spend a heck of a lot of time, so Honor and Durag both out onto the same timing. Of course, granted, Durag is able to get a little bit of a jump, get that scuttle on the top side, and now look a little bit towards that top lane, as MXT is actually looking for a solo kill here. Very low, but doesn't want to try and die this one as Honor's coming around the corner, walks on top of the board, and yes, Durag is here to help out because of that. Junglers meet and top laners disengage.
Now that turret shot makes things dicier. I'm trying to decide if I think Durag can actually get this dive. If not for the turret shot, I think MXT and Durag could have looked for it. Bot lane though,
all living with just a minuscule bit of HP. I think that is very close to under 100 HP, which is, no, don't stay off. Ain't no way. You're going to stay within, I think XP range is what you're waiting for. And I don't think a Foster Spawn will be able to take both lives. So, it is going to stay for the XP. You're going to try and hold out for as much as possible. But I don't think there's going to be any more fighting here on the bot side.
I don't know. He's got Flash and Barrier in every story. Depends how spicy you're feeling. If you can land a single Phosphorus Bomb, I think you can pull the go trigger.
At least on one of them. I can agree with that. Okay, Flower eats that one. You're just waiting for the
Wants
last
it.
bit
He
of
wants
XP.
it.
Pray. I know, but
Okay.
Flower and Odd understand their limits, so they are going to back away. But that CS deficit is growing by the minute. They're recalling on a non-cannon wave, so this is going to be easily crushed by the tower.
Even if it was a cannon wave, Flower and All wouldn't make it back in time, right? Because they stuck around in that turret, because they were trying to play chicken a little bit with Neverstory and Barbados, they were always going to lose the entire wave. Now, Alright, I want to go back to something we were talking a little bit about earlier about, you know, as a laner, you want to waste the jungler's time, and we didn't see that come through from Neverstory and Barbados, and we're seeing why. They much more valued the amount of pressure they were getting in the 2v2, so they didn't want to waste time. They didn't want to give Flower and All any way back in. And judging by what they just pulled off in that bot lane, the way they managed to pull Flower and All back, I gotta say it's worth it.
I know, and
Gumby!
now it allows Honor to even get a chance in, but Gumby with the sidesteps, the blue slate
What?
shoes are working wonders here. No level 6 by Honor, so Gumby gets away and keeps their flash.
Honestly surprised Honor didn't go for the flash to try and secure that kill, and Gumby, like you said, held his, so he literally just ran faster, ran better, and broke ankles.
And that's already a huge step forward because remember, Gumby did so well in game number 1 with that Echo that you knew eyes were going to be on him. Honor, we mentioned having this as one is going to try and influence the lanes a little bit more. So to look towards mid is great, but that was a flash in the mid lane as well. So Gumby actually loses out because they were fighting Ken. Yes, the grubs are going down, but I want to draw eyes to the fact that Ken is on 50 HP, just pulled the recall off. So even though Gumby was down on about 100 HP or so, they still came back and forced Ken to burn theirs.
Yeah, and it's worth noticing what Barbados owned coverage. There was a 3-man gap in the mid lane. And Ken's on the losing end of it, and Ken had to reset. And sure, Carleton's able to rotate into the grubs, which I think is a good call from Honor and Barbados since they're already there. But uOttawa answered back immediately with a first Drake, Ocean Drake, which is going to be huge for them. Right now, all their lanes feel like they're kind of losing. And I say feel because the CS numbers aren't that different except for the bot lane. In fact, NECC actually has a bit of a lead like he did in game 1. But none of them have pressure, and all of them are getting shoved in. So getting that Ocean will help a lot in terms of kind of giving them that space.
I actually really love this play coming out of Durag. You waited in the bush. You knew Barbados was going to come back this way, and you take full advantage.
And unfortunately, Carleton didn't know that Durag stuck around. I was waiting that bush. Very patient play to come through from Durag. That level 6, getting the first ultimate off as well. You'll love to see it. We said Wukong a bit passive early on, but once he gets the ultimate, he's looking for action.
Oh, MXC saying, hey, I can take this solo kill, and you absolutely will try, but a good flash away means you were going to be safe, because again, MXC, no flash, no goes.
Oh, Nick, you don't want to be stepping up there.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I think that might be a knock-up. Good sidestep of your own, channeling a little bit of Gumby power in there. MXC sadly doesn't get that solo kill.
I'm sweating now, bro. Okay, look, Nick, I get it. You want to look cool,
Oh,
but
no.
now this is the position you're in because you didn't back earlier. You've got a wave crashing in.
Nick is going to try and farm this up, and you might be able to
Oh
get
my
away, but
goodness.
my God! If you didn't have that pickaxe to get a little extra damage down on those minions, I
Surely
wonder...
he's dead.
Yeah, like, there's no way you get out of this one. You are going to try and power under the tower, but it's the wait. I like this MXT. Gonna try and go ahead and give over, but it's a solo kill.
Yeah.
Over to Durag because MXT didn't touch that, touch Nick for the last, like, 30 seconds.
Oh, and this is truly selfless top laner play, by the way. Because MXT held him there so long, and because Nick had so little health, MXT could have taken that solo. But instead, he gave that over to Durag, knowing that only one of us can get any sort of credit for this because Nick was so low. Very, very unfortunate, but selfless play from NXT. You love to see it. But for Nick, man, I just question what... It's not just Nick, too, right? We saw Flower and all do the same thing in the ball. Like, why are we so aggro? Why are we sticking around?
Sunk cost fallacy, man. Like, you're sitting there like, man, I gotta get this wave, I gotta get this wave. And at that point, you're like, well, I'm gonna commit one way or another because if I don't, then I look like a little bit of a weenie. So I think both sides were looking at it, and both of them paid the ultimate price. Gumby, though, in the mid lane, no flash, no ghost, easy pickings for the multi-CC layer that the side of the Ravens does have.
Okay, Flash and Outblown to secure that, but with the Hex Flash, that's fine for Barbados. They're more than happy to burn that. And unfortunately for Victor, yeah, he hasn't grown his legs quite back just yet. Orbital, you know what? I don't think it's Machismo saying that they can't back down. I think it's the whole intercity thing, you know? that town ain't big enough for the two universities, and apparently they feel like this lane isn't big enough for the two of us. So the action's got to happen. MXT now still playing really aggressively too. I love seeing the way they're stepping up. And again, with the Urgot Cassante matchup, I feel like they should be healthier most of the time, but they're so willing to trade, and MXT is winning out on these trades despite being the melee half of it.
And you also got to play on the top side and you have a CS lead, so I don't see why you wouldn't. You're up about 300 gold. Now you get a pinch pick as well. Now you bring it within tower, and you force them to take a tower shot as well. And now you have the Ghost to run them down. That fear, Death from Beyond ain't going to do jack here, as Nick is going to run away, but Honor might be able to do some work here. What a great intercept, and you deny any further engagement, and now you might get the extra damage. MXT, though, gets rooted just in time. You still duel your way out, and now MXT is just waiting for Grass to come back up. You're chugging your pot like crazy. Bobito's gonna try and help out as well, but NECC doing a wild amount of holding. Finally, a final slap from Honor takes him down, but my god, MXT, what a monster.
And I feel like uOttawa kind of gave up on that fight. We didn't see Durag, we did see Gumby rotating up. They're coming now after the fight is done. Bobito's able to disengage.
Yeah, very, very nice hammer of justice to punch out, but still, Nick is not in the greatest position right now, even losing out on wave state, which means MXT is going to come back and be like, hell yeah.
MXT has teleport as well. They'll be able to get into that, and that makes this Void Grubs fight a lot scarier, right? You can see that Carleton Ravens don't want to re-engage into this because Nick has fallen behind in the 1v1, because they are a bit on the weaker side of things. And we look at who's present as well for both these teams. For uOttawa, it's Durag, it's MXT, it's all. You've got damage because MXT is ahead, and because Durag, as Wukong, has damage in pocket, Trinity Force completed. Whereas for Carleton Ravens, you've got Nick, Honor, and Bobito's. And we already saw that MXT is not afraid of Honor and Bobito's. Nick needs to be there, and even then, Nick isn't pumping out enough damage to win that 3v3 for the top side for Carleton.
Not at all. Now we're seeing the swapped up positions as Nick is like,
right back into it.
Give me a little bit more damage with the shotgun meetings, but MXT is like, yo, I got Ice Throne. I don't care what you do. You're going to take this fight.
What's going to win? 8 shotguns or a very, very big fist?
Depends on what the fist is coated with. If it's covered by ice, apparently it does very well.
It's ridiculous. And unfortunately, because it is top lane, it does feel like that lead that NECC has is going to be quite an issue, and is not an easily solvable lead. But on the rest of the map, Orbital, Ken's doing a far better job in the mid lane on the Orianna in the laning phase, is winning out right now, trading very evenly with Gunby. And in the bot lane, Neverstory continues maintaining that CS lead.
I mean, this is going to be a great stall out. Both mid laners actually stuck around, didn't complete the recalls. Now they're going to try and ton Flower, getting jumped on here, but a nice little knockup as a Cyclone does work. Neverstory, as well as Honor, can't run away fast enough. So this is going to be the raw damage. Topside, we do see the solo go down, but Neverstory dropping the Chaos Storm, trying to bring some extra damage, gets the extra shield, and does win out in their 1v1 as well. And meanwhile, the bot lane turns on its head, so uOttawa Garnet win across the board while only dropping Flower.
Yeah, so action kind of all across the map there, and in favor of uOttawa at the end of the day. That was a 1-for-3, I believe, or 1-for-4. I can't quite. I don't think Bobito's actually dropped, so 1-for-3. What shocked me though the most?
It was a 1-for-4.
1-for-4. Bobito's did drop. Okay.
Yes.
You just respawned because I guess support. But yeah. What surprised me most was the.
Don't write him off like that, but.
Just support things, you know, like supports die for wards. They get the reset. They
oh
reset
my
faster.
God!
They apparently burn ultimates just to try and delay recalls by 3 seconds. Okay, Bobinos, we see you. But overall, the part that shocked me most was the 1v1 kill in the mid lane. Gunby wasn't winning out the lane, but won out the 1v1 trade.
Oh my God.
Honor gets
and
out.
Guess who doesn't win out either? Honor, as they lose the dragon. And that is the feat of the neutral camp just stolen away.
Wow. Okay, I don't know what happened all of a sudden, but uOttawa is playing with so much confidence. I'm shocked. And the game just swung in their favor. It's only 1,000 gold, to be fair, at 14.5 minutes, but the momentum swing is huge for them.
It's disgustingly huge. You go ahead and see Gumby taking full advantage of the upgraded boots, went for the boots of swiftness, which we see a lot of mid laners currently running, especially if you're going for that kiting style. You're going to be burning through the opponent so quickly, and I can't wait to see when that victory is online. But Flower, as well as Awe, has done well to kind of climb back into those ranks. We were talking about that CS differential. It hasn't swayed much out of that 2-wave difference. You see a 12 CS lead for Neverstory. It hasn't changed since about 5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and with the assists going to Flower's pocket as well, and with the power trough that Neverstory is currently sitting on with just the tier and not the zero mana, Flower and it all can actually kind of go 2v2. Mid lane, Ken is being chased down again.
And you still say you're gonna try and do some work, but the shield from Ken allows the final tower shot. And remember, it ramps up big. Gumby goes down in the 1v1. Now on the bot side, we're seeing another chase as Bobito's trying to help out. Solar Flare isn't gonna land, but Flower goes in with the killer instinct. Meanwhile, on the top side, MXC is trying to fight out, but it is gonna be a solo kill for Flower. Now Neverstory is just like, what am I gonna do? But Honor's coming around the side. Kill on the top side though for Nick, as Nick is able to survive. There goes the Lethal Princess. Honor cleans it up, and there is the 1-for-4. Make it 2-for-4 because Revenge by Durag on the top side means chaos has fully come to the Rift.
Last two fights and bodies are hitting the floor, but it's us in the production who are losing out. We can't track all the action that's happening everywhere across the map. While that was happening bot lane, topside, Durag gets the gank off. They are able to actually secure the kill, and most importantly, Orbital, they get the turret as well to boot. Bot side, Neverstory getting that as well, but I think it was uOttawa who got the first break, right? So yeah, more gold. Just further. Yep. Actually, is it? I don't even know anymore, man. Things are just happening all over the place.
It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, gold's dead even at 27. Like, no one cares who got first tower or whatnot. It's the fact that they ramped up the pacing of this game at such a breakneck pace. Durag is suddenly 4-0-1. Topside, MXT has lost that lead significantly because of the fact that, well, I wouldn't say fully losing out, but the fact that Nick was able to get that kind of like mini shutdown in there has led to value here on the Herald as well. Honor now feels strong enough at 2-0-2 and 53 stacks on the Heart Seal to look at this Herald, but is stepping up to the plate. MXT now running interference, gonna try and catch out Story here, and is able to find it into almost a solo kill. All goes straight into the back line, and they are gonna dance it so well. Assassination number 1 on the back side. Bobitos is running for their life. Honor though might get chunked out, but Ken, poor Ken is doing what they can, and Ken cannot win out in this battle. It is a 2-for-0 for uOttawa Garnet as they take control and maybe look for the Herald of their own.
We're talking about the pace of the game being accelerated because both teams are looking for action. Frankly, I would have thought that favored Carleton Ravens. We're in the mid game. That's when you start get the Orianna combo, the Shockwave, you know, with the Sejuani really strong. Granted, Corki hasn't fully come online with Mirror Mana just yet, but Urgot should be feeling pretty good as well. And I look at uOttawa, where you've got the Victor, who needs a bit more time to scale up. You had Flower that was set a little bit further behind. Maybe I thought uOttawa would want to play a bit safer, but no. uOttawa, MXT specifically, see hero, kill hero. Saw Neverstory and was like, we're going in, boys. And I love that uOttawa just went, yes, sir. And all of them just dog-piled in. And you saw that Carleton Ravens got caught a little bit off guard. They weren't expecting that. We didn't see the immediate peel back for Story, and that hesitation cost them. It cost them kills. It cost them the Herald. And once again, with the Grubs going the way of uOttawa earlier, it's going to be a very rough position once that Herald starts charging in. There are a lot of Grubs that can come through.
I would just like to point out, and correct me if I'm wrong, RMC, but with how aggressive the game has been, uOttawa has actually opted for the convergence down there. I haven't seen convergence in ages, I think. Now, granted, that might have changed, but it's such a we want to fight item. I love seeing it. Now, granted, apparently we saw it last game as well, but my eyes are just like, wow, okay, let's battle it out as hard as possible.
Well, I think it's good on all these engaged supports in the first place. The extra stat bonuses, the stats are efficient as well as the bonus it gives you for a lot of these team fighting is huge. So I like the pickup from All right now. And All actually had a lot of golden pockets as well. All has 2 kills as a support.
Might as well make it a third here if you can get into this fight. But Flower and Durag were in their own, but that is going to be a quick pinch as his ultimate's traded in a shutdown. Sent to Neverstory as they take their 3rd kill.
Good faster collapse, but both Nick and Honor did use their ultimates. Honestly, I do think you could look to turn this. The only problem is, once again, Gumby not running teleport and on the wrong side of the map for this play. Can MXT beast mode this? I almost feel like if MXT gets in there, part of me has hope, you know?
Part of me hopes that they get the dragon, but they were for sure going to kill. I think that's really what we're looking at, but it is not going to be contested. Instead, it is double pink ward laid down by the Ravens as they go ahead and hightail it back to the mid wave, and topside Gumby still pushing for their life, now bringing in about 170 CS, but that's going to be a chance at a catch knockout, though, as Flower is enjoying an awe. I mean, this is not the space that you really want to be in. You're tanky, but not that tanky. Whoa, Flower! Flower coming in for revenge, and now you flash over the wall, but you run straight into Nick, and honestly, I'm not sure about the killer instinct, but hey, at least it shows gumption.
For some reason, like the moment where Flower comes into the steel chair, but unfortunately, he's sat alone in the middle of a whole bunch. MXT, though, beast moding it right now. 1v2, and again, not enough damage to scare off the Cassante. MXT continues to be a monster in these situations. It feels like for uOttawa, it's coming down to these solo laners. Durag had said before, they had been having some revolving doors in the solo laners because of availabilities. But tonight they got their best five. And we're seeing with the way Gumby popped off in game 1 and the way MXT right now is being such a menace in game 2.
Yeah, they have done so well, and it's just, it's continuing onwards. Gumby being rotated out of the top side, pushed down about halfway through that inner turret. Now got a full tower to their own, has been granted so much gold because he wants to kind of, I want to say, accelerate this Victor into a much higher standing, trying to get him to 2.5 items as soon as possible for what could be the next dragon for the next turns as well. However, flash out as Nick is saying, look, you might be strong, but you're not me strong. And Gummy's like, yeah, let's go ahead and run it. No flash, no ghost eyes. You've already been expended, and Ken trying to boost him a little bit faster, but look at that, the walk away. Nah, nobody touches the Victor.
This is the arcane plot, no? Like, Victor gets his legs back?
Oh my god.
He's there with the ghost, with the Swifties you mentioned earlier. He's breaking ankles, he's getting out. Now, the lane assignments were a little bit awkward. I like that they're funneling gold into Gumby because of the skilling that Victor has, but it's just not a good matchup into the Ergot Flower, trying to chase down Honor, but Honor is so tanky. Quick hop, dash, skip away, and is into safety.
Oh, well, guess what? Round number 2. Gumby hasn't had the full 3 minutes to heal up there, but Ken immediately takes a right hook to the face, and now possibly an uppercut. Ken backs away to the ropes and says, okay, you can take your 3 minutes. We'll go back to base.
Yeah, Gumby did not have the mana to actually fight that.
No, absolutely not.
The way he's stepping up aggressively, and that's kind of the way some of these matchups go. It's so skill shot dependent between the Orianna and the Victor, and unfortunately, Gumby is landing a skill shot because Ken isn't, and we saw both times the command move didn't quite get in position for that, and Gumby knows the moment that ball moves, I've got all this area to play around, and Orianna can't do much to me. So really well played from Gumby. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, considering the amount of times he's role swapped, but he looks very comfortable in these laning 1v1 situations, surprisingly.
I mean, I give him a lot of credit. He's done well. Now, Ken, though, matching pace, at least in the item role here. That is going to be the Leandri's built in on top of the Saracen Brace. And you pretty much hit a good power spike to bring the damage if you land that shockwave, which, by the way, we really haven't seen that extra shockwave action that we were waiting for. I think we saw a good couple in the early stages, but we haven't seen like the 2 to 3 man shockwaves they're really hoping for. Granted, the team fights haven't really been exceptional to bring it about, but Ken is going to hang on to that, and I will be watching to see if it does bring enough value. As we do see the hail drop mid, Durag was able to kind of field that one, but really, I think that was just timer running out, so I don't know if it's actually going to get a whole lot of value here.
You don't look like they're in position to walk this Herald in, unfortunately. MXT doesn't have TP, and Gumby is once again split pushing on a side lane. So, yeah, Carleton Ravens just thank you for the gold.
Well, Gumby about to say thank you for the kill, but Honor's over the wall, and honestly, a great call out, I think, by the rest of the team. But that's a fight in the mid lane now, as you knew Honor was on the bot side, but Durag, again, Flower getting punched out means he can't really follow up. Granted, there's some more, but Gumby, we go right back to that 1v2. Again, the Switzy is doing work, but what a great catch by Nick, and Shotgun Knee's doing well against the poor skinny man, but that is going to be the catch. What a pin against the wall, though. Flower denied from getting Neverstory and Bobitos, able to save their ADC. Honor, what a steal of a kill. No, you give that to Bobitos, man.
Or give that to Neverstory or somebody else, Brother Honor. We didn't need to take it 3-0 and 6 on the Zyra. Great. On the Sejuani, a little bit sus. But the bait from Neverstory, he had the flash barrier the entire time. And the moment Flower was like, I got this, Never was like, no, you don't. Able to turn that around, able to get the turret as well. And Overall, the gold was really even. It felt like uOttawa was ever so slightly ahead throughout most of the early game. Carleton Ravens have finally clawed themselves a lead, answered back all that side lane pressure that MXT and Gumby were putting down, and they're doing it for team fights. And we saw in game 1, the team fights often decide the game, more so than the individual laning prowess and or the late game split push pressure.
Well, guess what? That team fight might be a very pivotal moment here as well. TP is up for Nick, which is why they're splitting on the top side. But for the first time this game, uOttawa actually have a majority share of their members here in the mid-bot section, ready for this dragon. MXT posturing to get inside of that river if they wish. Nick actually TP'd very early on. And MXT is going to try and soak up some damage, but Vitas is ready to jump on in, gets him into that side, but Durag ready to dance on top of him, gets a huge cyclone and gets a burn down as Bovitos walks into the solar flare, but the shockwave on 3 to turn it around, but not a whole lot of damage behind. Now it's going to be a chance, but that's Fear Beyond Death, but the catch, Nick isn't able to fear anyone else though, but it's a shutdown onto MXT, which is well worth the ult.
And NECC tanked for so long, it kind of didn't matter. Unfortunately, uOttawa, they're very burst heavy, and they weren't able to necessarily find the squishies. Look at Neverstory's health bar. He's pretty much full. Ken was the one they targeted early, but with the shields, he turned out a lot tankier than they thought. Split between Nick and the turret right now. Nick taking a lot of damage, but the damage is split. Nothing goes down there.
I think really they were just saying, okay, as long as we don't lose too much tower damage or lose the tower fully, we can get the dragon, we can even things up. But uOttawa Garnet also saying it's Cloud Dragon. We're not overly worried about this stature. Instead, we just want to keep getting farm. We're still waiting for them to get their power up, and Neverstory showing off their gold as well. Triple item completed, well and ahead of anyone else in this game. And saying, hey Gumby, you can't step up to me right now.
No, and that was into superior numbers as well. So, like, Honor was looking to get out, and Neverstory went in thinking, like, yeah, I can maybe get Gumby. And sure, you didn't find the kill on Gumby, but you were perfectly safe. You meet the other 3 members of uOttawa back off with the power spike in pocket, with the mirror mana now completed on this Corki right now. Carleton can finally start looking to play aggressively, and although I'm looking at Honor to do this, because Bobitos is not an engaged champion with that Poppy. It's gotta be on this Sejuani to find those engages right now, and Honor's farming while Ken's getting run down.
Well, Honor is farming, MXT is farming as well, farming the raw damage, even dancing outside of the sombrero. Flash in though as Nick is ready to do to Gumby what MXT did to Ken, but Gumby has way more versatility out here. Flash goes to safety, running behind enemy lines right now. This is when the inventor goes rogue, and you're just like, what the heck? Even got to meet up with Flower. The carry is in the mid lane. They're still running. They're actually going to meet up with MXT on the bot side. And the Ravens, instead of getting Gumby, lose Ken and lose 2 towers.
How did they get the inside tracked?
I don't know, but Honor's going to try and make them pay back in
You don't have the damage.
Awe is coming around the side. Awe is coming around the side, but they are going to try and fight this. That is going to be Sun MXT running interference, but they're standing inside the Chaos Storm. Inside of that stasis, Solar Flare goes down. Gumby doesn't need the ult. He doesn't have it. He doesn't need it. Honor burnt to a crisp. And that will be Nick running for their life. They have no flash, though. Remember that. They are knocked back in and deleted. What a play from top to bot. uOttawa Garnet are looking to take the inhibitor.
Top to bot, coast to coast, 30-minute inhibitor potentially coming through. And over, I want to highlight too, off screen, Ken teleported for a flank solo. But by the time the teleport completed, the fight was over. Ken just has to walk back to mid lane. Is actually getting run down by Durag a little bit too.
Ken's like, bruh, I didn't sign up for this, man. I signed up to play mid. I didn't sign up to have to macro my way out of this. Finally here, is gonna try and shockwave, but only lands on the Awe because Flower went in for the 1v1. And this is that level of aggression you talked about, the aggression coming out in the inner city battles. It's showing here. Flower diving into a 1v1 against Ken, not knowing if the shockwave is gonna hit or not. That's not a 1 item, Oriana. That is a 2.5. That can still do damage. Oh my god, and Flower gets caught again. Bobitos is like, please stop.
Well, Bobitos is the one, who's saying please stop, despite catching Flower, because the rest of the team was still in the area, was still nearby. Flower running for the hills, has to make a flash away. We're not going to see Neverstory continue the chase for now. Reset's delayed, and overall, Baron is on the table. Asakan is on the table, both on the same side of the map. Maybe Carleton Ravens can try and use this small advantage they got from delaying those recalls to set up vision, set up for these major objectives.
See if they can do so. Right now, Pink Ward's very heavy on the Ravens side, and I mean, they need to shift that up maybe, or they're going to leave it around this dragon, which, again, fifth dragon of the game, third for either team. It's not crazy, but Gumby, you have to talk about Gumby because you're reaching that level 600. You've seen Gumby be able to run away from a lot of these fights and still new to their team, to be able to kind of like walk these fights back in, right? We're getting to the point where maybe you don't need that anymore. You're 3 items deep, looking for that fourth. Pretty soon, all this fed gold into the Victor is going to pop off, and I'm curious to see when that will be. Right now, though, there's another tower down. Jungle is currently being overrun as Honor has to deal with Durag, and Awe and Flower running along this Raptor bottom side. Nick and Neverstory, like, are we really going to let them get away with this?
Those wards, they're fighting over those wards like you fight over an objective right now. Tuxedo taking a lot of damage, same as on the back, and Honor is looking for the engage. Has flash.
And does catch Flowers, so this might be the catch they want, but a great stop right now. Solar Flare to slow down Neverstory, but it will be a sacrifice by MXT to keep his bottom lane alive. The base, though, is getting punished. As you mentioned, topside is currently getting punched, and this might be the chance Flower might run interference. This could be a costly mistake as MXT went down so that uOttawa Garnet could get their second inhibitor of this game.
Yeah, Cloud actually managed to cancel the recalls on the tanks. It's only the squishies, and with the Wukong, with the Victor, you can absolutely pop them. Nick uses the teleport to get back to base.
He was so done. He's just like, I hate this. I hate not being able to recall. I hate not being able to do anything. Meanwhile, we saw Honor try and look at the dragon and try and get something back on her own, but really, it feels like this is the Ravens getting annoyed, and Gumby's even more annoyed, sidestepping everything and shuts down Neverstory.
Well, bro, I guess we found out why Corki wasn't in Arcane.
Oh, that's... I mean, too true, too true. Gumby even sidesteps the Fury on death. Nick is salty, Nick is salty. Nick's trying to and run him down. Is Gumby going to annihilate 2 in a row? Is Gumby doing... Okay, Ken's here to help out. Shut down, handed over to Nick. Finally some revenge, but Durag gets advantage on Dragon, meaning uOttawa Garnet yet again lose 1 member, but still gain a global advantage.
Yeah, and it was Carleton Ravens pushing in on that play, getting the pick, but they're the ones who end up losing parts of their base. They lost an inhibitor off of that. Their Nexus start took an absolute beating. They lose the Dragon to boot as well. And while all that's happening, uOttawa still have more control on this top side of the map. Carleton Ravens just lost everything on the map, and a lot of that overall it feels like is coming off Gumby. This Victor. You said that Carleton Ravens feel salty? I feel salty watching Gumby. That's supposed to be an immobile mage coming through. Literally designed to be immobile. They put a limp in his character, and he's still breaking ankles.
Well, Durag is going to try and break ankles here, but instead gets chopped down. The Wukong is gone, and that's going to be a problem because that leaves Flower completely vulnerable. Trying to pop the barrier to do some extra work. MXT going to try and clean up. Oh, getting a good solar flare, but the shockwave lands on the 2 tankiest members of uOttawa Garnet, so it really doesn't do too much. Awe and MXT trying to run for the life. Finally, Awe gets taken down, and Neverstory on this Corki is really showing why Corki is first pick worthy. Nick trying to wait for the time, but there's a Chaos Storm. Guess who's here? In comes Chaos. Good flip though. Nick's gonna try and turn it around, but good flash out means Gumby is gonna be safe for the time being. MXT brings Nick all the way around, and their story getting so many kills here, as it seems the Ravens have finally come alive. MXT was able to get at least 1, but the chase away might be enough. Ken though flashing for the ace, and it looks like the Ravens have finally found their punch.
And they've clawed back to even, Orbital. Despite that, though, I think uOttawa are actually going to be happy with how that sequence of events ended, if not how it started. Because for a while there, I was actually genuinely concerned Carleton was going to break an inhibitor, maybe even threaten those Nexus turrets, but Gumby running straight out of base immediately to drop the Chaos Storm, and MXT's lack of hesitation and fear to immediately look for engages actually managed to kind of balance things out. Okay, I think Durag did see the recall from Ken, so they should know that they have the advantage in the area, but the rest of the team is still not alive. MXT and Gumby, the heroes of that last sequence of events, were not available to come up to this top side, and Carleton Ravens, they're still not looking to try and get any sort of control, pressure over these major objectives.
Feels like they're kind of sitting here going, hey, we want to keep farming up. We just saw what Neverstory could do with 4 items, but what can he do with 5 items? Honestly, I don't think you need 5. I mean, what's the 5th item going to be? Just like a little extra shred, a little extra safety? I mean, what are you really going to build? But That is what they have decided to do. Nick back into the spot lane, into a solo 1v1. Gumby getting slowed down here. We're seeing that chase kind of occur, and Nick has to turn around, I think, because Gumby is dropping everything here. Honor is on their way, though, so keep eyes on how that's going to go. Oh, the flip doesn't occur, and that might be the chance for Gumby to do some work, but that's going to be a very nice push of Prison, and there is the finish blow. Gumby is starting to get a little bit overconfident with their damage output, but again, as a death occurs on one side, so does an ejected start, but this one really doesn't seem takeable.
Yeah, the problem for uOttawa on that particular play was Gumby getting caught out only revealed Honor and Nick. You don't know where the rest of the team is. And yeah, you just don't have enough damage to take that right now without Durag or Gumby there to back Flowers up 5v4? 4v4?
Good dive under the tower. Maybe you didn't want to because Mobitos was brought in by MXT. Maybe not so much though. And that is just going to be a trade back. Granted, it is just a Poppy, and the Poppy hasn't exactly had the greatest time so far.
It's been rough for Bobitos, unfortunately, and Bobitos has had some really good plays this game on the Poppy, but he's also had some plays which have definitely worked against him and put him in a bad position. And while the support role often doesn't have as much gold and therefore direct damage in a lot of these team fights, the impact he has with the CC is huge. So despite the fact that, oh, it's just the support that goes down for Carleton, it does mean that Carleton has to just reset at this point. They can't really push out, they can't really look to secure objective pressure. And also, Bobitos is the main warder on this team. So, yeah, the one he goes down as well, I don't think they actually had the wards, the yellow wards or the normal vision wards to get down, and they didn't want to burn the control wards without the ability to actually control that area and protect those control wards.
I love that Honor is sweeping a pink warded bush, because there is, I believe, a very small fraction of a spot that can have a regular ward, but it's still funny to me to watch, as Aw is now like, I'm not a ward, so please don't kill me. Solar Flare lands on 2, but you're alone. Unfortunately, you are going to fall just in time to see a TP coming out, because MXT had to run away from that top lane, which is going to give a whole lot of control over Baron, over to the side of the Ravens, but they can't do it because, again, Gumby is just looking to take down this inhibitor yet again.
At the side lane pressure and the fact that MXT went down to the bot lane as well, they've got to be worried about the potential for them to just blitz this down. Gumby, though, hasn't even popped Ghost yet, by the way. This is just straight Q boost speed with Boots able to dodge out yet another Fury on death.
Yeah, that is actually a boosted Boots as well. That is a level 3 boost, which is chaotic to say the least. MXT though running interference, allowing Durag to get in there, bring the damage down, as yet again Bobitos is annihilated. Flower dives straight into Neverstory's face and deletes them inside of the base, so Gumby does lose their life. Yet the fight in the jungle is the main one we're watching, as Honor brings honor to their family, and Flower may or may not, never mind, dishonor on you, dishonor on maybe your cow or your Poro in this case, but Nick and Ken able to make up for it, as that is a 3-for-2 battle through the base towards the mid.
Oh, running from the bot lane right now. Nick has to be a little bit careful. CC coming through might be enough to burst him. Ken has the shield though. And they're low. Flower is happy to just pepper you with shots into the back. The Cloud Drake is up right now, but I don't think...
Oh, the snipe! Nick not only saved the bottom inhibitor, by the way, but snipes out a kill behind, meaning the Ravens have lost nothing. There will be no pressure built in to the coming wave state, as no supers will be on the map.
I'm still shocked that happened, Orbital. I wasn't even tracking. The ult cooldown is so short. We just saw it miss in the top lane against Gumby. And I was thinking, okay, Flower's going to pepper them with shots, but it's Nick with the sniper from a screen away, threaded through the crowd. I think all was kind of standing right by Flower, and it was still Flower who got hit. That puts a huge, big pause button on this map and gives Carleton Ravens the priority in terms of what they want to go for. Bobitos started up the dragon, but it looks like nobody else in the team. Okay, now there's the teams there. Look at those teams hesitant to start.
Guess what? This dragon doesn't matter. It just puts us on soul point on both ends. That's why uOttawa Garnet are like, cool, take another cloud. You got to move faster. Granted, move speed is very important. Don't get me wrong. But uOttawa Garnet are okay giving it up here. They didn't want to force a fight. They're still saying, okay, had some rough run-ins. We need that perfect engagement. These scattered fights are starting to do a little bit of awry work. And Gumby, someone that we've watched kind of scale up and given so much farm, 475, has not had that true impact that they were so waiting for.
I feel like that number is such a a trap. You know, it's bait because the KDA looks terrible, but he's had so much impact in the side map.
True, he has. As Nick has also had the same 9, 5, and 4. This time might be run down. NECC has the chance to even bring in Flower for a little extra damage.
Vengeance.
It's done work, and then all this time doesn't die as they're punted out of the top lane. Oh no, Gumby. What? Gumby is just.
Yeah.
What's Gumby on? This is now the 3rd or 4th time they soloed out this bottom lane, and it's not Nick. So Ken can't do anything, and now the Baron has started up here as it's already down to about 6k. NECC gonna step away. Can I wait it out here because Bovitos and Neversoar are off on the side lanes trying to throw out Poke. And of course, Sejuani's in the way as well. So it is gonna be slowed down here. This is going to be a reset on the Baron. The reason that uOttawa Garnet are okay with this is because Gumby is still in the base, keeping Ken there. And this is just... This is like a decent amount of aura being charged up here. Gumby, if you don't die and you take 2 inhibs, maybe even take Ken's life, I'll be very, very impressed. Multi-shields coming up here as Ken loses the Ceres, and you're going to try and dance this, and you got the laser shutdown for Gumby, as the Ravens have lost out on so much now, and that's NECC going cool. No one else coming in for backup. We are going to take the fight, but Bovitos is chopped down. The Acathia rains on their parade. Neverstory's story is shut, closed, and locked away. An honor will be deleted. It's a triple for the Flower that blossoms at the end of this game.
Gumby low on health, low on mana, still in the enemy base. Brother, you've got no ghost.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your team is on the way to close this out. Gumby has spent more time in the base of Ken than Ken has at this point, as that is an ace for the side of uOttawa Garnet. They have 15 seconds on Bovitos, and I don't think it's going to make a dang difference. GG's to a 41-minute banger as uOttawa Garnet take the series.
I am in shock, Orbital, with how that ended, because don't be fooled by the ace that came through. Don't be fooled by the Baron fight. That game ended from a 1v1, and Gumby is insane. That Victor, that scoreline is so much bait. I want to see the down damage done to structures, because he was pushing in. He soloed out Ken. He still held Nick for the longest time as well. And really, it was Ken going down. That was the starting pistol for uOttawa Garnet to look for that Baron fight. The moment they knew that Ken was out, just not available, Nick was still not available, they immediately charged in on the other side, found the kills, forget the Baron, end the game.
I will 100% agree. I disrespected Gumby a little bit, and Gumby like puffed out his chest and said, "Let me walk all over this." Yeah. And I want to give credit down to Flower as well. Flower and all really impressed me here as well. Being able to follow up. We mentioned the fact that uOttawa Garnet love to be this like, "Hey, we'll take that call." Before, it was a little bit harsh to see because it was a misfortune. We weren't able to see that follow. Flower dove in multiple times. All dove in multiple times, and I'm pretty sure they weren't sure if they were going to live or die. Like, that is some true commitment to the team right there.
Somebody was going to hit the floor. Something was going to hit the floor. But then somebody on the other side. We'll find out after we press the ult and actually get engaged. Yeah, wildly played from both of these teams, Orbital. And yeah, unfortunately for Carleton Ravens, it would have been such a good gift for them if they were able to present Altil, their mid laner who had the surgery this morning, a win. But unfortunately, that's not the case tonight. They still played really, really well, though. And honestly, I was quite impressed with the way Bovitos, pardon me. I don't know why I'm thumbing his name now after calling it all game. But Bovitos, I think, stepped in and did a phenomenal job as a substitute. We saw as well, I think Nick, on the Ergot later on outside of lane, had massive impact to come through as well. Neverstory on the Corki was doing so much work. This team is strong. And I feel like this blemish on their record, it's somewhat unfair. And if anything, I hope it spurs them on to be that much stronger throughout the season to kind of punch back. And if both these teams continue performing the way they are, Orbital, playoffs. The Panda game might not just be one game here. It could be a Panda series coming in.
Panda Cup at this point, because it was just that good. So we do hope to see the resurgence of Carleton Ravens to finish out their season strong, and to see more of uOttawa Garnet as they gave us a treat for the eyes, a 41-minute barn burner with one of the craziest solo victories I've seen in a while. The entire team stepped up everywhere. Just the entire series was so much fun. We appreciate everyone who was able to stay through a lot of the technical difficulties that we had. We understand and appreciate every single one of you. We thank you for tuning in tonight, but there's more action on the way as the NECC continues their entire week, as Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will be even more collegiate matches. Make sure to stay tuned at 8 p.m. ET every single evening, or make sure to check on the socials and keep track of what teams will be playing throughout. Of course, with that, we are done here for the night. My name is Wardwell. With me is a random minion caster who will have to go back to the Rift at some point. We have Rare Adam on the production and Chippy on the observation, giving us all the glorious views. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Hey, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky. Hey, get the stick. Hey, did you the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what. You finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. This is a spicy workout. Make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on.